Hello everyone, welcome back to this new type of video. So in this video I'll be talking about the DGCA navigation exam. So I'll be discussing the most important topics and questions that might be asked. This video is going to be a long one, so keep making notes of whatever I discuss in this video. Without any further delay, let's get started. So finally starting. You need to know the basic definitions of great circles, rhumb lines, latitude, longitude, both the diameters, the equatorial and the polar diameter, the tilt of the earth, the compression ratio, the definition of nautical mile, the definition of kilometer. Like DGCA will give you a question, what is the definition of nautical miles, and you'll have three options A, B, C, and they need to tick mark one. Now let's talk about the calculators that you need, which are very helpful in the exam. You have two calculators. One is the scientific calculator, which is easily available in any of the stationery shops, or it's available on Amazon. And then the CX3, the flight computer, which will help us to solve many numericals. There will be some numericals where you have to convert nautical miles per hour to kilometers per hour or meter per second to knots, or there can be some where you have to convert liters to US gallons or imperial gallons to US gallons using specific gravity. Some will come about CDMBT, where you can use any one of these calculators. Next is the 1 in 60 rule. You need to learn the formula by heart because this formula is very useful in the topics further. For convergency and departure, you need to learn the definition and the formula. Practice a lot of numericals on convergency and departure. For scale, learn all the three charts, all the properties of all the charts. For my time, I did all the three charts. There were some questions asked like how is great circle represented, how is rhumb line represented. Now the chapter time. The position of the earth on different dates. The most important thing is the angle between the orbital plane and the equatorial plane, whether it's 23.5 or 66.5. Then twilight, the position of the sun in civil twilight, the position of the sun in nautical twilight. Then comes different types of years. What is calendar year, what is sidereal year, what is tropical year. Now we move on to the topic of DCP, PNR, PSR. This topic is very important. I at least got 4 to 5 questions from these, and all of them were engine failure questions. Practice a lot of numericals from these. Then another important topic is payload. Again, from this topic I got 4 questions. They were basic questions like finding the landing mass, finding the remaining reserve fuel. Practice a lot of questions from these two. Then from performance, again I got 2 questions from these, like with the change of CG position, what happens to the stability, to the fuel consumption, to the range, etc. Basic questions. Now let's start with instrument navigation. For instruments, you can use this simple trick. On one side, write down the name of the instrument, and on the other side, write down the errors and the principles for the instrument. And read them every day, and before the exam, you'll be very well with these. You can practice the questions from Oxford or from Keith William. You can get basic definitions like what is total pressure, what is static plus dynamic. Then you can get questions like static pressure is fed into which instrument, dynamic pressure is fed into which instrument. Then you need to know very well the errors of ASI, the errors of altimeter. Just remember them using these shortcuts. Remember the markings of ASI, the different color arcs, the upper limit, the lower limit, the V speeds, different type of V speeds, the definition of V speeds, VNO, VFE, where it begins, where it ends. The next topic is MachMeter. You can get questions like what is Mach number. The task will be given and the LSS will be given. Calculate the Mach number. For MachMeter numericals, you can practice from Keith William or from R.K. Bali. Now, moving on to gyros, you can be asked questions like what are the different type of gyros and its uses, how much gimbals they have, and how much degree of freedom do they have. Then there will be questions asked on acceleration error and deceleration error. What are the limitations of DGI? For turning errors, you can be asked questions like you want to turn from 360 to 090. When will you have to stop the turn, before, after? Then for turn and slip indicator, there will be questions like whether it's a right turn on the ground, where will the ball and the needle move. Then you need to learn the rate of turn formula. There can be one or two questions asked on that. Then moving forward, we have INS and IRS. What is their purpose? What is damping period? What are the advantages and disadvantages of INS? It's pretty simple, you just need to read it. Now on magnetism, when I gave, there was one question asked like what is the dip angle at the equator and what is the dip angle at the pole, where is it 90 degrees, where is it 0 degrees. Then the definition of isogonal, the definition of isoclinical. Read this 4 to 5 definitions, you'll find them in the Oxford. Then for IRS, what type of platform is used for IRS, the advantage of IRS, what is laser lock, how to prevent it. And then for FS, what are the different modes of FS, what is full VOR, what is full ILS. You have to recognize it, like a question will be given and 4 diagrams will be shown, you have to click the right diagram. These questions are provided in Oxford. Let's start with radio navigation. For radio navigation, you need to know all the different types of radio waves, their frequencies, different properties. Radio waves, you need to know the different type of radio instruments like the VDF, the ADF, the NDB, the ILS. You need to know all their principles of operation, their frequency, their codes. The simple way to memorize them all is make 4 columns and write down the name of the instrument, the principal operation, the frequency and the emission code, and this memorize it every day. Then there can be questions asked like what is the shape of cardioid, what is the shape of Lima cone, so read about it. Then there can be questions asked about the range of NDB. Then you need to know the different types of VOR, TVOR, DVOR. Then there can be questions asked about the marker beacons, the distance and the heights. The numericals of NDB and VOR are very important. You can find them in Keith William. This radio navigation is also very important for the RTR, so do it well. Now the ILS chapter, you need to know the different frequency of the lobes, which side is 150 Hz and which side is 90 Hz for both the localizer and the glide slope. You need to know the range of the localizer, the different types of localizer, whether it's a 4-dot localizer or a 5-dot localizer. There can be questions asked on this. Then you need to know the range of the glide slope. Then you need to know the category of ILS, the DH, whether it's cat 1, cat 2, cat 3, A, B, C. Then you need to know what is false glide slope, when you receive it and how to avoid it. Now moving on to radar. Different types of radar like the primary radar, the secondary radar, examples like DME, TCAS, etc. For transponder, which mode is used in mode A and mode C? There can be questions asked on this. Then next is TCAS. For TCAS, there will be questions asked like the time at which the RA or TA is given, like is it 40 seconds or is it 20 seconds. Then when are the warnings given? You need to know this TCAS very well. Then next is airborne weather radar, AWR. You need to know the frequency of it, the type of radar being used in it. Then there is a table where you will find the different colors and their meaning, like what does yellow mean, what does red mean, what does magenta mean, what does green mean. Then the use of a pencil beam and the use of a fan shaped beam, when is it used, their distance, the dangers of it. Then for satellites you need to know about GPS, GLONASS, Gagan, who owns GPS, who owns Gagan, the number of satellites used in 2D, 3D, the satellites used in RAM, what will cause failure of RAM, etc. That was all for radio nav. Now let's start with flight planning, which is a very important topic. I at least had got 4 to 5 questions in my attempt. I'll also be discussing the 2 questions which I remember which had come in my attempt. You for flight planning, you need to know the entire paper of flight planning, what is written in each box and what does it mean. Okay, so the questions which had come in my attempt, like there was a question, it said like, how is 30,000 feet written in flight plan? And the options were given like FL300, F300 or 300. You need to know the right answer. Then there was another question like in box number 10, equipment, what does the letter O mean? The options were VOR, ILS or omnidirectional. You need to know this answer. Select the right one. You can study the flight plan 10 days before the exam so that it's fresh in your mind. This type of questions always be asked. Practice all your numericals at least twice. Read your theory well and you shall score very good. Thank you for watching till here. Once the results are out, please write your score in the comments. I'll be very happy to know. I'll make a new video about the important questions in regs. All the best for your exams. Do your best and have faith in God. Thank you for watching.